Good morning, everybody. Orange J here with another War of the Visions video, and we've got a special type of video coming your way today. I'm in a tier list making kind of mood because I've been working on an all-unit tier list for War of the Visions. Now that's a big job. There's a lot of units in this game if you want to actually consider them all reasonably. And so I'm working on that. I'm going to finish that video once Final Fantasy IV Rerun finishes, so I can give Kain, Rosa, Cecil, and Golbez like a legit shot on that list as 120 units, because they don't feel real good at level 99. Anyway, I was going through some of my old videos, and I found a kind of an old hidden gem, I guess. Well, I liked it. It was an elemental tier list where I talked about like the state of each element in War of the Visions, but this was back like early June 2021. So it's been a long time since I did this. Black Rose Helena was about to become a thing, and you can see in the bottom right where I ranked every element in the game back then. And let me just tell you, it's different now. Like, things have changed now, especially when you're talking about the elements in the game. Like, not light and dark. I think light and dark are going to be strong. They're always strong in video games, I feel like. But it's those other elements that have shifted around a lot. So, I thought, let's revisit this. I'll put the old one on the screen, and we'll talk about kind of how the game has changed. So, here we go. I'm going to go in descending order from my previous strongest dark to my previous weakest wind, and I'll tell you right now, neither of those are in that same spot. Okay, dark. Dark was number 1 S tier before. I think it has fallen off just a little bit. I'm going to knock it down to A tier. Here's the thing. Dark, back in the day, was it, right? Like Black Rose Helena, Dwayne, something just dominated the meta. It was the best PvE comps in the game, and I still think, for a lot of people, Dark is their best PvE comp. Dark slashing can beat almost anything in this game as far as like hard content goes. You have Black Rose Helena, who can bring some like heals and big damage. You have Dwayne. Dark is strong. I've said their names several times. It can also do evade really well, right? You have Venera, Shadow Lynx mixed in there. Ruinstern can evade. Dark can do a whole lot of things really good. You have Lemure, who's joined the game as kind of a different type of support unit than we've normally seen, but gives Dark a dedicated supporter, and I think it's still really, really strong. It is going to be like top A tier on this list, but just not as dominant as it was back in the day. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about Light. And Light was number 2 before. It's still in S tier today. Like, Light is still everywhere. And in fact, if you go to like high-end Guild Wars right now, it's starting to shift away from mono light defenses, but the idea of running like Starlight Elena, Jaden, Yuna, mixing in Engelbert somewhere is just insane. Engelbert's EX by itself helped elevate Light. Starlight, Elena, and Jaden, 2 100 cost units coming out like kind of close to each other, just pushed it over the top. And then you have Yuna, who is probably the best healer in the game. Light has it all. One thing that both Dark and Light have is a good vision card variety too. Like when I'm building a Dark team, even if I'm building a 5 Dark unit PvE team, I don't have problems mixing in like plenty of vision cards that aren't weird running with each other. Light, same way, and some of Light's stronger vision cards are even MR cards, which is helpful in like cost restrictive formats. So I think the units, espers, and vision cards for both these first two are strong. I just think Light is in an absolute dominant spot. And with Cecil, especially getting his EX next week, like in a couple of days, Light slashing PvE teams are going to be unlocked. And we got Lucio, who's also kind of unlocking right now. So the future looks good for Light. I'm going to keep it S tier. I guess it's the same tier that it was before. So good job, Light. You've stayed relevant. Now, it's time for a big changer. Previously, I had thought Fire was A tier. And apparently I thought it was the only A tier of like the elemental elements. Yeah, there's some words for you. Of the elemental elements in the game. It has fallen off, in my opinion. I'm going to drop Fire into C tier, and it is going to be my lowest ranking element. It's usable. I'm not going to drop it into D tier, whatever, relevance that has. It's all subjective. But you can use Fire. Fire has some big strengths going for it. It has really good tanks with King, Mont, and Rain. I like both those units a lot. You have Classy Glassy, who's a really strong mage. After those three, Fire does fall off a little bit, in my opinion. Now, if you have some of Fire's really good vision cards, there's some cool teams you can build, right? Like, you could build a Rain, Adelard, Glassy team for PvP that can do a ton of magic damage and is pretty tanky. King Mont is one of the best tanks in the game. But, oof, like, Fire is in the worst spot for global, in my opinion. Raldor EX could come along and kind of bail us out here. Maybe our Fire Warrior of the Crystal someday really helps boost it, but Fire needs some love in global. It's the weakest element, in my opinion, C tier. Okay, next up is Ice. Now, previously, Ice was the number 4 ranked element on my list, and I had it in the top of B tier. Ice is still in a pretty good spot. Like, I think it's still at least firmly in its previous spot in the top of B. You have a really good tank in Ice with Fryevia. You have a solid MR tank in Nasha. A ton of damage units. Like, Ice is sitting real pretty for damage units. You have Aranea, who's just come out, Valentine's Day Solir, who's not limited in global, and really destroys a lot of wind teams, so you're looking good there. You have a ton of piercing, you have slash chaining. Ice is in a great spot for DPS. It's in a good spot with tanks, but it does suffer in the support area. Like, if you're trying to run mono Ice, let's say for PvE, you get a lot of your support from like Fryevia, who's also your tank, which is kind of awkward. Yeah, Gilgamesh has like time mage stuff, but I don't know, I think support does hurt Ice a little bit. I really like its vision cards. Like, Ice is set for vision cards. They have really good ones. So, still firmly in top of B tier, in my opinion. Way better than Fire, who's sitting alone in C. Okay, next up on the list is Water, previously the number 5 element on my list, right behind Ice. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to drop it in just behind Ice again. And I think it's kind of like Ice, but sort of the opposite. Where I thought Ice was pretty decent as far as like tanks went, but lacked in terms of supporters, I think Water has really good supporters, but really lacks in terms of tanks right now. Both of those elements have good damage dealers, right? Like, Water's full of good damage dealers. Several of which, though, are limited and like limited collaboration. I'm talking like Titus and Lara Croft, but I'm not holding limited or collaboration characters against these elements because we have so many of them in the game. If I excluded them, it would really throw a big wrench into things. So I'm not holding that against Water. It's really good at chaining. You have like Farm, who's one of the newer units in this game, great for chaining with somebody like Titus. You have Aerith, Miranda, Ildira backing you up with support. So I think Water's in a good spot. If it had a tank, I'd like it even more, but it has really good vision cards. You can definitely PvE with it as well. In some trials, there's been like great water chaining teams, especially that finish it off with like Titus's Limit Break that have just destroyed. So I think Water's in a fine spot. I think it could use a tank though to boost it into that like A tier category. Okay, that brings us to our next one, which is Earth. One of my favorite elements in the game, and if you've followed my account, you know I build my Earth girls up. So previously, Earth dropped in right here behind Water. I think Earth has improved dramatically in the game since this last tier list, and I'm going to move Earth up to A tier. Now, is this me being a little bit of like an Earth homer? Yeah, probably, right? This is like an opinion video from me. I'm trying to be objective, but I do think Earth is in a really good spot. I think Moraga is one of the better selection quest units. I think Noctis is super good. And I think you can describe the entire Earth element like this. They are high damage units that are really hard to kill. Like, does Earth have a dedicated tank? Some people argue Moraga is that. I don't think he is. I think he's a really high damage bruiser. Does Earth have like a UR dedicated supporter? No, not really. I don't think they do. So what does Earth do? A ton of damage is what Earth does, with a ton of revives, with a ton of courages mixed in, with evade being viable, super good element for PvE chaining. I just think Earth is very difficult to deal with. And I think it's in a great spot. So like, I like how Earth is different than all the rest of the elements. They kind of has its own feel, right? Like when you fight an Earth team, you don't typically expect to just go out there and run them over. So I think Earth is really strong. Will that stick? I don't know. I don't know. Okay, that's my thoughts on Earth. Yo, long live Eileen. Next up is Lightning. Now, Lightning was previously behind Earth in B tier, but oh man, Cloud alone does this. Just Cloud. Cloud joining Lightning just moves it up to A tier. Like, Cloud's that good. Also, Charlotte is a thing now, and she's like one of the best tanks in the game. So I actually think Lightning is right there. I prefer Lightning to Dark right now. And that feels weird to say. Like, for so long, Dark dominated this game. I am more scared of a Lightning team in PvP right now than I am of Dark. Is it as good of a PvE element as Dark is? Man, there's a lot of really good chaining options in Lightning. I don't know if it is as good, but if you have access to like 9S Charlotte Cloud, you have your debuffs, you have your buffs, you have your slashing chains, it's insanely good. With Ibarra coming out, you have a top tier mage in Lightning now. What about supporters? This is where Lightning hurts a little bit. You have 9S as a Lightning support, and then like 4 months from now, which is not when this video is based, we're apparently getting a Lightning healer. Maybe it's what I've heard. I don't know for sure. So anyway, that's where I think Lightning is now. It's probably, I would call it maybe like a tie with Dark, but I'm more scared of Lightning than I am of Dark right now. Just saying. And I'm an Earth player. And I'm like, damn, Lightning's scary. Cloud and Charlotte by themselves are just so dang good. And you, again, access to really good vision cards in Lightning and Espers. So, okay, there's Lightning, top of A in my opinion. And then last is Wind. Now, Wind was previously down here by itself. Bottom of C tier. The trashiest of the trash. I talked trash on its units. I talked trash on its vision cards. Times have changed for Wind. I believe Wind is an S tier element in this game right now. And that's weird. That's weird, you guys, to say that. Like, I wouldn't have even said this that long ago, right? Like, Wind's rise has been fast. It has climbed up the list quickly. Joom is that good. She's that good of a tank. She can tank almost anything in the game, so that's fantastic. You have access to like Ayaka as a supporter. You have access to Halloween Little Leela as a supporter / nuke the whole enemy team to death. For damage options, you have 2B. You have Lucia just got her EX. Winter Luartha is insanely strong. Tifa, nobody plays Varouche. The guy's a beast. He's a monster. Wind is in a fantastic spot. What holds it back from Light, in my opinion, is I think Wind's vision cards are a little weak. I don't think they synergize with each other super well. And even in teams of 3, I often find myself kind of having 2 vision cards that fit the group really well, but that third one's kind of weird. I know a lot of people right now, at the day I'm making this video, are probably going to be like, dude, Wind's not that good. And I hope that... I think I will be proven correct on this one as people who are building Joom a little bit slower, as people who are putting more of their account into Wind start seeing the payoffs, and we see Wind start creeping up a little bit more. I think at that point people will see. Remember, I'm talking about like the ceiling of these elements right here, right? Like if you have everything you need, that's what I'm talking about. So there's my updated element tier list. I hope this was a decent video. Like, I enjoy making this video. Let's look at it one more time and see if I agree with this. So, Light, Wind, Lightning, Dark. This Lightning, Dark, do I actually think Lightning is better than Dark? It's close. I think these are my 3 A tier elements. I think these are B tier for sure. Very usable. I think Fire's even usable as well, but I think it is the weakest. Okay, there it is. That's my list. Let me know what you think. The thing I love about tier list videos is they get a ton of comments. The thing about those comments, be nice to me. Be nice to me. I don't care. Be however you want. I'll catch you next time. Peace.